Hello there everybody, I'm back. Okay, let's just do this video real quick. I promise videos are coming. Okay, I'm very busy with the transferring shit and with the college and the schoolwork. I'm taking 5 classes and 6 classes in this semester. I mean, it's crazy. First of all, I want to show this off. Guess what this is? This is a Parasite poster official print. My friend gave it to me. He hooked me up. He worked at a theater. Pop-up list to all of you. Alright, let's just get on to the show. November catch up, everybody. This is the video that I make monthly, wrapping up everything that I watch. This month, I watched more. I watched a lot more than previous month since I have more time. There's a break during Thanksgiving. So, yeah, usually I put these films under 4 categories just to put it under your radar so that you can go check it out if you're interested. That's the whole point of the show. So without further ado, let's just jump into it. Starting with the stalker list, these are the shows or movies that I think you should put it away. You should stalk it because they're really not that important. You can just put it away if you have time to spare some point in your life. Pick them up. It doesn't hurt anybody. First one being Charlie's Angel. I was pretty excited about this mainly because of the cast and how talented everyone is. But I feel like as a remake, I've never watched the original. I don't really care about the original. There's another cartoon series that's similar to this. What is it, like something spy, something like that? I don't think this movie is good. I think the action are directed pretty sloppily. I think that's a word. It's really lazy, and I found the action sequences in this film really ugly. And I think for a film like this, the things that should be good are at least the actions. Because I feel like Charlie's Angels is trying to hit a lot of things. It's trying to be a little bit Terminator-esque. It's also trying to hit that Mission Impossible trend. And just morphing into one with a female cast, which I have no problem with. It's just like with all these fight scenes, you can see the actors or the stuntmen, they are pulling punches, and you don't feel the punch really hurting one another. And that's on the stunt part, right? And also the editing part, I found really choppy how they edited these sequences together. I found it really ugly. There are also a lot of green screens and CGI implemented into the story, which I thought you can kind of tell a lot. There's this one scene, I think it was in the trailer even. It's super obvious it's a green screen. There are also some shots that I found a lot of noise in there, some digital noise in there, and it just overall from a technicality standpoint, I'm not a big fan of Charlie's Angel, especially when it comes to the cast. They're way too pretty to be whatever the situation they're in. Some terrible shit happens in the film, right? And then somehow some characters get out looking exactly the same as 2 scenes ago. So you don't really feel that. And once you combine that with the script, you really don't feel the stake is high. And I feel the stake is really low. Nothing really has some sort of consequences. So you boil everything down, I think it's just the script. I'm not a big fan of the script, and the action, I thought it could be a lot better. Also, the film is way too polished. It looks too good, and that's where I'm gonna leave it at that. Let's move on.
I'm very much in love.
Next up, we have The Souvenir. Okay, this film is crazy. I don't even know if I should put it under this list or should I put that under any list, because I'm really confused about The Souvenir. If you look on Rotten Tomatoes, it's now sitting at, I think the critics loved it. The critics absolutely loved it. It has an average of 8.07 ish. I don't know, I don't remember, but it's a really high score, over 8 points. But when you look at the audience score, it's terrible. It's sitting at 30 something percent. It's crazy on how polarizing the film is. I watched it. I think I'm more on the audience side on this one. I completely understand, right? I completely understand what the filmmakers are going for, and I respect the hell out of this movie. And it's a movie that I look at and that it inspires me to do something like that. And I feel like it's also kind of, if you look at it in a particular way, it's also a love letter to all the aspiring filmmakers out there. And this film, I really respect this movie. I just don't, did I like it? No, I don't think I liked it. The film is really compacted. Sometimes we have like weeks or months time skip, and you got to piece these things together. They also did some really cool things with the production, with the set, and how it changes. It represents different time frame, what I thought was pretty interesting. But I think everything boiled down to the theme. Then why I respect this movie. It's which I find it really personal in a lot of aspect, is about a character finding herself, right? And the way to tell that is put her in a toxic relationship. And this film was semi based on a true story, which is why I respect this movie so much. It's also about finding a voice as a filmmaker and a storyteller in the film. But I'm really confused about it because it just feels like you're watching these scenes of a couple arguing with each other about whatever they're going through, while at the same time some interesting thing is happening in the background. So if I really just boil down to one point, I really love the message, I really love the theme, I really respect the filmmaking and respect whatever goes on behind the scene, but it's just the execution I'm not a big fan of. I completely see why people are into this movie. I understand. The most memorable thing out of it is, besides the main performance, I think is the last two shots of the film that represent the entire film. It's a really powerful dolly in shot, the second to last shot, and the last shot of a character walking into something, which I thought was fantastic. It embodies the entire film. But everything leading up to that, I just thought that the execution is, to be honest, it's kind of boring. And I'm gonna leave it at that, just so you know I really respect this film. I just didn't like it as much. Moving on to the streamer list, these are the films or show that I think you should watch it at home. You can wait for a Blu-ray or Netflix or other streaming services. Just watch it at home. The point is, I don't think it's worth the ticket price to go out of the way, go into the theater, pay the ticket price, and then, the first one being Last Christmas. Oh, holy shit, this film was goofy as hell. Look, I enjoy rom-coms. There are a couple every year that came out, and I take great joy out of that from dumb fun standpoint. And Last Christmas is also that, but it's just so goofy. It's not a bad thing. It's just so goofy. I just feel like the main criticism I have with this film, it doesn't know what it's trying to be. It is have so many things going on at the same time. Is it trying to be an urban rom-com, like that happens in an urban area with the big cities and busy people, or is trying to be a small town melodrama? And this somehow Last Christmas has both, I guess, genres morphing together, and not all the time it works. And it also trying to be a Christmas film on top of that. So it's all these little things happening at the same time. If this movie were to release maybe a month later, catching that Christmas release, I think it will probably do better at the box office, and people will much enjoy it a little bit more. The film is apparently based on the song the Last Christmas, which is exactly why this film is so goofy. There's another thing about Henry Golding's character. I like them too. Henry Golding and Emilia Clarke, I like them together. They're just great actors. There's something about Henry Golding's character that I don't like, but I can't say it because it contains spoiler. I just can't say it, but there's something about this character that I have a major problem with. Other than that, I think the film mainly looks good. The acting good. It sometimes feel a little bit too inconsequential, and sometimes the characters look a little too pretty. And it's the same thing I have with the Charlie's Angel, but I think that's it. I just think that it's a really fun movie, I guess, feel good movie. Whether you like the ending or not, there are some stuff in it that make you feel good about yourself and about the world. And I guess that's all you need from Last Christmas.
God damn, Dolemite.
Great God in heaven, you know.
Next up, we have Dolemite Is My Name. Is currently on Netflix. You can go check it out. I think it's terrific. The acting is terrific. It's a really interesting look at a character and his career, his uprising. And what I really like about this movie is the camera work. I thought there's some really interesting camera work in there, some really good cinematography. On a writing standpoint, I think that the most of the time I'm on board, and I love the cast. Eddie Murphy is fantastic. Snoop Dogg is this movie as well. Sometimes I feel like the journey of the character is a little bit too smoothly. Like this character is trying to do anything to be successful, but on the way he's gonna fucked up some stuff. But the way they write these scenes and these plot points, I guess, into the script, they didn't have that big, I guess, revelation, and it just happens, and then characters somehow just overcome it in a couple of the scenes. I guess that's my main big problem with it. A character named Lady Reed is a really interesting character. I really like her and her dynamic with the main character. I just feel like her character is a little bit underdeveloped. They can do a lot more stuff with her character, and that's it. That's everything I want to say. Dolemite Is My Name is a really good film. It has a really interesting look at the character, and you can see it as a character study, but a lot louder and more, more out there. And I guess that's a good thing. It's just a really good look at that time period and what these people are going through. Go check it out. It's on Netflix.
If you kill me now, the world as you know it will end.
Next up, we have In the Shadow of the Moon. I think I heard this movie from somewhere on the internet, but I forgot. It's on Netflix as well. Go check it out. It's a sci-fi film. It started off so well. The first 10 minutes, 15 minutes, or hell, maybe the first act. It started off with such an interesting hook that hooked the audience in. But then it just went downhill from there, and I thought it was such a missed opportunity. This film was perfectly structured, exactly how you would expect at a certain point of the movie. Something's gonna happen. It happens. It's perfectly structured. No risk on that. I think it has a good concept. I just think it's the execution, mainly on the writing. There are scenes in it that I shouted out loud at my house. It's like, what the fuck, screenwriters? This is how you write these scenes? All right, in a story, there's something that has to happen in order for the film to go forward. But in the Shadow of the Moon, how they wrote it is by having this character maybe go to one point and then give some information or exposition, and then have that scene completely scrapped and then just move on with the story. It's almost like, okay, we're pausing the story right now. We're going to tell you a bunch of information, a bunch of exposition, and we're going to put the characters back, and then we move on to the story. It just stops for that entire 5 minutes. And it happens a lot. And a lot of times you think the scene is gonna lead to something, and it doesn't. It kind of backtracks and then move on to another direction, which is one of the biggest problem I have with this movie. The action is a little bit dull. Sometimes you can see the stunt double at work here, and also the music choices. I'm not a big fan of it. I thought music sucks for what the film is trying to be. I just feel like music sound a lot cheaper than the film itself, and just overall the script. What I love about it is really the hook, the first 20 minutes or so. It has such an attention grabber and just went downhill, and that's it. I think it's okay. It's an okay sci-fi. Go check it out. It has a good concept.
Can I be your legacy?
You already are.
Queen and Slim. This film, not a lot of people watched it. It's almost like this Peanut Butter Falcon or Huckleberry Finn-esque story where there were two characters just trying to escape from somewhere. I think the dialogue in this film was written extremely well. It's really sappy. It was really quick and witty. Especially when these two characters at work, Queen and Slim, one is an attorney, one is just some guy trying to chill and trying to go on dates and play by Daniel Kaluuya, which is fantastic. Everyone in this movie, especially the two main characters, the performances, it just, when these two characters are put together, they play off each other so well. You don't really need to write certain plot points for them. They kind of just write them themselves when you have characters butt heading against each other. I think it's a really good romantic story on that level, and an adventure story. I guess it's okay. It's just that I think besides the main two characters, Queen and Slim, everyone else, all the characters they encounter on the way, everyone else are so empty. They're shells. I'm besides the two main characters, I'm not a big fan of any other characters. They're just kind of there to, I guess, to move the story along and help our main characters, will fuck over our main characters in one way or another. There's one scene near the end, near the third act, it just came out of nowhere. It doesn't have to do with the main plot whatsoever. It's just kind of there. And I just feel like when you have that problem, the story world that they're building just isn't that convincing, for me at least. There are things happening that doesn't have to do with anything with our main characters, and they show you anyway. And there's also a subplot with the city, with the African American community supporting the two characters escaping, and the whole power thing going on, which I thought was, I guess they feel obligated to implement that into the script, but you just feel like it somehow doesn't have a main, I guess, a main correlation between the two main characters and their action in the first act and whatever is going in the subplot. The acting and dialogue are the best thing about it. The cinematography was pretty good, and I just have one question: how did the popo catch up with them every single time?
I will find out why tonight happened.
The last one on the stalker list is 21 Bridges. They marketed this film as this second Avengers spinoff or some shit. I mean, it's crazy, but it's a neo-noir film. It's almost in real time, I guess. I think. Did I put it down? No. It's really condensed. It happens over the course of a few hours because the main detectives had to catch these criminals, and something unravels over the course of that. The best thing about it, score. I really like the score. I listened back to it, I think once. I want to listen to some more to form my opinion on it, but I think the score is really, really good, really solid when in 21 Bridges. There's a fantastic subway scene, which I thought was it's all visual storytelling, and just two characters maybe just do some stuff at each other, looking at each other, and then you know exactly what they're thinking, and it's just great storytelling. And I think those are the best thing about it. I think the biggest problem I have with it is just the setting. I think when you have a film that's called 21 Bridges, I expect the story to have something to do with 21 Bridges, but it doesn't have anything to do with 21 Bridges. In fact, there are 21 bridges that is surrounding the city. If they close them up, the criminals can't get out, and that's the entire, I guess, drive of the film, the antagonist. But at the same time, if you want to call your film a 21 Bridges, I expect the city or 21 Bridges to be at least a character, or at least, I guess, set up this city as a playground for the characters to play with. And I guess I just don't think they ever did that. And also the prologue of this movie sets up another movie that doesn't have anything to do with the main movie. The prologue, you can take it out and nothing would have changed. I just feel like this movie can be a lot better if you maybe polish the script a little bit and have another director directing it, because I found this movie with really little energy when it comes to directing. When I say 21 Bridges has little energy, I'm just saying that how the director chose to shoot all these scenes with just character standing with not doing anything. I mean, I guess maybe there's some crime scene happening in the background and they just standing and talking with each other, or a group of characters just standing around and talking. They're not moving, they're not walking, they're not doing anything else, they're just talking, and you feel the laziness off the screen. I just feel like it's just a good, I guess it's a good story on its own, but it has a wrong approach to things, and I think every character in this film, including our main character, is underdeveloped, and that's a huge problem. But I think overall, I enjoy 21 Bridge for what it is. Right, it has an interesting story, and then how everything unravels at the end is kind of wild, and I think that's enough for it. The score is fantastic. Go check it out. The performances are pretty good, not bad. Moving on to the go to the theater list. These are the films that I think you should go to the theater and watch. It's worth the ticket price, and it's just better to experience on a big screen and in a black box. First one being Motherless Brooklyn. I'm really confused about this one, but I would love to watch this movie again. There are times in there that I completely forgot I was watching the movie, and that's probably the highest regard, the highest compliment or highest accomplishment a film can get. It's just sometimes I forgot I was watching a movie and I just got lost in the story world that they were building, and mainly because of the score. It has a really jazz vibe, and also the performance from who's he again? The Fight Club guy. What's his name? Edward Norton. That's it. His performance is it's really unique. What he's doing here, and I just thought it was interesting. This film is long. It's really long. I think it's about 2 hours and 30 minutes ish. But I never wonder when it's gonna end because it's always going somewhere. There's always something in the background that is, I guess, spoiling up this movie to its breaking point. I think on that level it's really good. The cinematography and the story world that they're building, super interesting. It's a mix of genres. It's a little, I guess, dark comedy ish, but it's also a noir. There are scenes that drag a little bit, but overall I really enjoy Motherless Brooklyn. I would love to see it again to form a full opinion on it. I just guess I'm gonna leave it at that. I don't know what else I can add. Yeah, the score is hella good. The next one being Midway. I did not like this movie. The only reason I put it under the go to the theater list, I think, is just the visual. I think it's good to see it on the big screen, and that's it. Everything else, I'm not a big fan of. I think Midway is it's a little bit bombastic, and no pun intended. There are things all over the place. There are so many things happening at the same time, and it causing the editing to be really, really choppy. There are a lot of characters in this movie, and I just felt, and we followed them for a long time. It's just the setup that isn't that good. I guarantee you this. I can almost guarantee you Midway, the original cut, is maybe over 3 hours long, and they cut it because there's just so many things going on. The reason I put it over here is the visual. Right? You can hate on the visual. I see a lot of people bitching on the CGI. I thought it was fun. I don't give a shit. I think some of the dogfights in this film are pretty interesting. It's shot from a perspective that you don't see a lot in war films. Midway did that. I just feel like when you have this movie that everyone is bitching about the CGI, and yet you spend most of the money, probably your budget, on the CGI. It's kind of counterintuitive, right? They have so much money, but they decided to spend it on something that they probably shouldn't have. There are scenes in there that ends with I call it the Transformer scene enders, where some characters just say a bunch of some really strong line that transition into the second scene. I'm like, what is this Transformer? But I guess other than the exciting dogfight scenes and some explosions things, I just feel like the directing is a little bit boring, and there's really no energy seeping through it. But I just guess the best thing is I guess the visually it looks good, and that's it. Next up we have Pain and Glory. This film was kind of interesting. It's a Spanish film. It's limited release. If it's screening near you, please go check it out. I think it's interesting what they did with the color, and how they used colors to tell stories. It's about this artist, and it's almost as a character study of this artist and what he's going through in a middle age. It's about a character, the retrospection and aging of this character of an artist. And I think it takes a really interesting approach to it. At first, it was really interesting, and then the pacing kind of slowed down a little bit, which I guess the only problem with it. But holy shit, that ending. Literally the ending shot. And then you rethink the entire film, and you thought, okay, that's what you've been doing this entire time? The acting is top notch, and I think what they did with the color and the production design is super interesting. I would love to see it again in another perspective, because it kind of begs you to, especially with that ending. I'm gonna leave it at that. It's an interesting take on a character study. That's it. Frozen 2 is now in theater, IMAX, everybody, everywhere. When the first Frozen came out 6 years ago. Oh my god, how the time flies. I thought it was like 3 or 4 years ago, and all of a sudden it's 6 years ago. I mean, it's crazy. When Frozen first came out, it was a huge hit. Nobody expected it. The song keeps playing till this day, I guess. Is Frozen 2 better than the first one? No, I don't think so. It's by far. But I just think Frozen 2 is worth going to the theater because of the sound, because of the visual, because the animation in this film looks stunning. It looks better than the first one. I mean, it's just the visual. It looks so stunning. And also the music, I thought was really good. I'm still listening to the score. I haven't finished yet, but I'm listening to the score. I'm listening to the soundtrack later. And what's so interesting about it is that when I first watched this movie, and when the first pieces of score started coming out in the film, and then I heard it and I was like, oh, this has a Aurora vibe, this Viking-ish type style of score. It would be cool if Aurora did the soundtrack. And I sat through the credits and I saw Aurora's name on it, and I remember, oh shit, she actually did a couple of sounds in there. But I guess to summarize, I think Frozen 2 has a lot of misses and a lot of hits at the same time. Not everything sticks. It's a wildly different film from the first one. You please don't go to Frozen 2 expecting the same thing as Frozen, because they're completely different. The score is unique. But the thing is, let's just go why I didn't like Frozen 2 as much. There are a lot of backstories to be told. The prologue is entire, I think, is exposition, because they're not trying to build on. They're not trying to build upon what's set up in the first one. Instead, they're trying to build another thing going on, and then do Frozen 2 on top of that instead of following Frozen 1. And I think that's the biggest problem with it. There are a lot of backstory, a lot of setup that the filmmakers have to do, and the pacing drag. The character of Kristoff, he didn't do shit in the movie, but being annoying and then kind of waste a lot of time with him trying to propose to Anna. That's his entire plot of the movie. And when Kristoff starts singing, there's a number for exclusively for him. When he starts singing, that is the low point of the film. There's really no turning back. That is the lowest of the low. That's rock bottom when Kristoff starts singing. There are a lot of screen time for Olaf. If you like him, then it's okay. I think he's funny. I think he had a lot of comedic relief into the film. Sometimes it gets maybe a little too much, but I think overall I'm fine with it. But I think Frozen 2, go watch it in theater. The score is super unique. The soundtrack, I can't wait to listen to it. The visual is beautiful, and I think that's all you need from a film like this. And kids loved it, and they will definitely enjoy it in a theater and have a great time. So go check it out, Frozen 2. I don't think it's as good as the first one, but still, good watch.
Wind up in a ditch dead, and nobody'd ever find you.
Sword of Trust. This film is limited release. I think it came out a few months ago. I just watched this a few days ago. I really liked it. It's not trying to be anything else. It's such a small movie. It's almost a half bottle film. It just happens in this antique store, and it's called Sword of Trust. And trust is a constant theme, is a common theme that keeps coming up throughout the entire film. The performances I thought was supernatural. It doesn't feel like they're acting. It just kind of they're living. And it stars Mark Maron, who is a stand-up comic. I wanted to see his stand-up after this. It's on Netflix. He, I guess, is the brightest spot of the film. Also, Jillian Bell and Michaela Watkins is also in this film. They're also in Britney Runs a Marathon. They're also fantastic. It's just 4 characters, and I think the only problem with I think they can flesh out the characters a little bit more. This film is really, really short, about 85 to 90 minutes long, super short, and I think they can lengthen a little bit to build these characters and whatever the goals they might have, and flesh them out a little bit more, so when things are going down, you kind of feel their motivation. You kind of feel like you're there a little bit more. That's the only critique I have with it. I really love the small scale of the movie. I think it's really funny, and it's really lighthearted. It's not trying to be anything else. And also, I just remember this, the prologue of them, how they decided to open the film. I thought it was a misfire. They shouldn't have opened the film with that scene because it doesn't do anything with this story later on. I thought that was just a bad choice. But other than that, I really enjoy Sort of Trust. Yeah, go check it out. I really liked it.
Can I know I'll make it with you by my side.
Honey Boy, I was so excited for this one. I don't know why. I guess when I first saw the first shot of the trailer, I accidentally watched that. Well, the whole explosion thing going on, it had me gripped. I was so excited to see this, and people and the reviews seemed to be really good. And then I watched it, and I really liked it. There are some things that I didn't like, but there are a lot of things that I liked. But don't have a lot of things to say about it. It's just it's just a good, I guess, almost coming of age story that doesn't have the middle, because the film is totally non-chronological order from an adult's standpoint. Played by Luca Hedges, as he reminisces what happened to his past. I haven't done any research on Honey Boy because I think that the film is extremely personal to Shia LaBeouf, which I think is probably his best performance I've ever seen. He was completely gone in this movie. I don't see Shia. I see this asshole father that is complex. I love this performance, and yeah, as I said, this film is totally non-chronological order. It has an adult storyline and a child storyline, but whenever we cut to the adult part, the film kind of drags. I am not a big fan of the adult storyline, but I understand why they did that. I understand why they told this movie non-chronologically. I understand why they try to cut between adult storyline and child storyline. I completely understand that. It has a theme of you also, as I would say, bad as you think people may be, you also have to remember where they come from, and it's not really their fault. Sometimes it's what they went through, right? Sometimes it's about people are who they are for a reason, and to support that theme, they decided to tell this story in a particular way, and I completely understand that. Besides Shia, the kid, which also was fantastic. This is one of the best child performances of the year, probably the best, from my memory at least. But I think that's it. That's what I'm going to put it. I really enjoyed the child storyline, and that's it. Yeah, I think it's good storytelling. The acting, top notch. Shia was completely gone. Go check it out. Honey Boy is really good, and it's also quite original in a weird way. So, yeah, go check it out. Next one we have Gwen. Gwen is, I guess I had a newfound love for period horror, and Gwen is another one. The Wind just came out a few months ago, which I really loved. The Witch came out a few years ago that I really love. Period horror has a thing, I guess. They have a particular way of storytelling when it comes to cinematography. I think it's super interesting. What I think found interesting about Gwen is it's not just about horror. As a matter of fact, it's not that scary. It has horror element to it, but I think when you look at it from a perspective, it's a coming of age story with horror elements in it. There are things happen that are not explained. I saw it pretty metaphorically. There's some things in there that are purposefully left unexplained. I guess you could just, if you like that kind of stuff, or you're okay with it, Gwen should be the thing for you. But if it just bugs you, if you can't take things unexplained, don't watch this movie. You're gonna hate it. Also, the main girl, her name is Eleanor. I found her performance to be super good. There's this one scene where she gets super emotional. I guess every scene she's super emotional, but there's this one scene where she just starts crying out of nowhere. I'm like, damn, girl, yeah, this girl can act. Okay, and the cinematography, as I said, is super interesting when it comes to period horror, and Gwen looks fantastic. It looks so good. The only thing though, I just think that the script can be a little bit fatter. They can add a lot of things to it. It's 85-minute long. It's super short. I think they can add a lot of stuff to it, plot-wise and character-wise. Other than that, Gwen is a great watch. I love how quiet the film is. The film has 0 to none dialogue, and it's almost all visual storytelling, which I love. I love quiet films. It's so rare to see it these days. Go check it out. If you like The Wind, you'll probably like Gwen as well. Moving on to the must-watches. These are the films or show that I think that are just the best of the month. Go check it out. We have a lot this month. Starting with Jojo Rabbit. I watched it. I was really excited for it because Taika Waititi has such an interesting voice. And I just couldn't wait to see him do this film. And I really love it. It's really funny. And I'm a huge sucker for a coming-of-age film. They touch me the most. And Jojo Rabbit has an interesting way of telling a story revolving his kid and everything that he believes in, and from that perspective and how he sees the world and how he can impact other people and how he change and transform and grow and mature into this other person, which make another decision. I think it's like after all, besides everything that it's a really good coming of age story. The acting is super good. Thomasin McKenzie, I think. Thomasin, I don't know her. She was also in Leave No Trace. She was fantastic. The shots composition was shot in a really interesting way. The cinematography. I think the best thing about Jojo Rabbit is it has such a good use of the material. It's like, okay, we're going to tell a coming of age story, but you know what? We're going to take another approach. We're going to make this kid a Nazi and make him want to be a Nazi and tell a story during the World War II, and then use the war and this Jewish girl as almost as a tool to help our main character to tell this coming of age story. It's beautiful and it's super funny. People always say it's edgy. It's just a fucking film with Nazi in it. Like, you see it a million times.
Come and play with us forever and ever.
Dr. Sleep. Oh my god, I was super excited to see this. I love this month. This month has been great. I mean, Dr. Sleep is another one that I was super excited about. For once, I am a huge fan of Mike Flanagan. Oh my god, he came a long way from Oculus and Absentia. I really love his work, and what he did with Dr. Sleep, I loved it. I really like Dr. Sleep. I know a lot of people didn't, but I think Dr. Sleep is an excellent standalone film. It doesn't need The Shining to be there for Dr. Sleep to work. It can stand on its own. And guess what? It can stand on its own, and it's a really good add-on to The Shining. It can do both. Okay, things can do both. Things just, they can be multiple things instead of just one thing. And a lot of people are bitching about the runtime. I think it's 230 minutes or 240 minutes long. To be honest, I wish they could have gone for longer, especially that setup. I don't mind the runtime. I enjoy the hell out of Dr. Sleep. I think I feel like just the setup of these characters, I think is a little bit too discombobulated, because we have set up for, I guess, three main parties, and you don't really see the correlation instantly. It happens later on in the story, but it just feel like, okay, we're going to scene here, let's cut everything together. And I think they can really set these characters up even more, maybe 10 minutes more or 20 minutes more to hit that 3-hour mark. And what I love about Dr. Sleep is it's a slow burning movie. It's not a slow burn, but it's a burning movie. It just keeps burning up. The tension builds and builds. It's super fiery. I would love to describe this movie as fiery, if that is a word. Is it scary? I don't find it really scary, but I think what it captures so well is the tone and the story world, especially when it comes to our main character. Surprisingly, they did a lot with the character before the shit starts going down. I'm not talking about a setup. I'm just talking about what this character is doing after all these years after The Shining. And it's, I guess in a lot of ways, it's really touching and it's really beautiful. And Dr. Sleep, what it's good at is setting these likable characters and motivation for these characters. And when they finally come butt-heading against each other, you understand each party, and then you can get behind the plot. Ford v Ferrari. This is also another film that was hyped up a lot. This is another film of the month that I forgot I was watching a movie. I thought the editing of Ford v Ferrari was exhilarating, was fantastic. Most of the film was shot in wide lenses and wide shots, which you know exactly what's going on, and that's so rare. When these car races are happening, you know exactly what's going on. The kid performance is fantastic. It's also the same kid who was in Honey Boy. He's really good. He's a fantastic actor from all these things. What caught me by surprise is that how much time they spent on Christian Bale's character, and how they built this character, how they set up this character, how they flesh out this character's family, his dynamic with his wife, his dynamic with his son, which caught me by surprise. They spent a lot of time, surprisingly amount of time, setting up these dynamics, so when they eventually succeed or fails, you feel that gut punch. You feel maybe happy or sad for them. And combining with the sound design, which I thought was one of the best of the year, it created a really convincing world that you can just fall into and forget about everything else. I think it's a really well made movie. The only problem, I guess, is a little nitpick I have with this movie is that, well, like I said, they spent a lot of time, setting up Christian Bale's character and his dynamic and his families, and whenever we cut back to those racing scenes, you feel a little bit disconnected, because I think the glue that combines the two subplots together, it's a little bit weak. So you feel like it's a little bit disproportionate, but at the same time, it's just a little tiny nitpick. The editing, one of the best edited film of the year, for me at least. And also the sound design, super good, performances, and that's it. Ford v Ferrari, fantastic. Go watch it in theater. Actually, it's a must watch.
CSI KFC.
Knives Out. Whoo, it's another one that I was super excited. I thought Knives Out was going to be a bottle film, but turns out it wasn't. It has a huge cast. It stars everybody you know. It has one of my favorite scripts of the year. I'm a huge fan of whodunit, and I'm a huge fan of those murder mystery, because I like solving puzzles with these characters and have them make me feel stupid. And I loved all those movies. I love noir films. It's just super clever. And what I love about the film, besides the cleverness, is also it's not only about the murder mystery. Yes, there is a murder mystery and there's a detective thing going on, but it's not just about that. It also has a really likable character. It has a fantastic message. And what I love about the main character is just this character stands for herself. This character isn't just some character that witnessed everything. And there is a reason why you follow this character. And this character is played by Anna something. She was also in Blade Runner 2049. She's excellent in this one. I think she is fantastic, easily the best part of the film. Daniel Craig, on the other hand, has this super over the top performance of this accent and the way he carries himself. It's also really off type, which I thought was really good. Anna was so fucking good. The film also tackles politics, but I guess they done it tastefully. The talk can get a little bit overheated, but I guess they did tackle it pretty tastefully. The only problem I had with the film, I think there are some scrap characters. There are some, I call it the shit characters. Those are the characters that you can just take out of the script, or easily take out of the script and replace it with something else, and nothing would change. There are some scrap characters here and there, but overall, I really enjoy Knives Out. It has a really good mystery. It has a really good main character. Good performance all around. Anna was fantastic. Daniel Craig. And if you like murder mysteries, this is it. This is probably the modern Alfred Hitchcock Rope, or I don't know, Rear Window. That's too much, I guess. You get the point.
But we're here now. Here we are.
Tell Me Who I Am is currently on Netflix. It's a documentary. You can go watch it right now. I don't have a lot to say about it. the documentary was separated into 3 acts, one each from a different perspective, and by the time that they get to the 3rd act and the title cards comes out, and then you'll be like, oh shit, that's what they're doing, that's what they're leading up to that 3rd act, that's why they're setting all these things up just for that 3rd act. The 3rd act is crazy. The story itself is crazy, and another thing about it is how they did with the colors. It's super obvious. You don't need to be into filmmaking to notice. It's just what they did with the colors and to how they use it to tell the story. It's pretty obvious. It's right in your face. I don't have any problem with that. It's just the story itself that they're telling. It got so crazy by that 3rd act, and what I guess the only problem with it, I hope that they had more than 2 people telling the story, because when you have a documentary, you have interviews from all these parties involved, right? Well, in this story, they only got the 2 characters. They're twins, and you only hear both sides of the story. But I think they can really fatten the documentary a lot more if they get their friends or their the people around them for their interview and give another perspective on certain things. I think it will add a lot more metaphorical colors to the film. That's the only problem with it. I think it's just a really well-made documentary, and it's a story that worth telling. And the execution, sometimes they missed a little bit, but I think overall it's quite interesting. By the end of the documentary, it leaves you in a state of questioning yourself. Like, if you were in that situation, what would you have done? And I think that's wonderful. Go check it out. It's on Netflix. Go check it out.
That each one of them is precious.
A Beautiful in the Neighborhood is the last movie that I want to talk about in this video. I don't have a lot to say about it. It's a really simple story, simply told, but on every turn they just hit the right spot. Again, I love how quiet this movie is. There's 1 minute in this film, complete silence. Just 1 minute in the film, complete silence. We don't get that in cinema anymore, and I love it. Tom Hanks is. I said it before. I want to say. I say it as many times as I can. Tom Hanks is one of the best actors ever, and probably the best actor in our generation. Well, that's arguable, but it's one of the best ever. He is good in anything. This man can do anything, and A Beautiful in the Neighborhood is super touching. This is a film that made me want to go back and watch Won't You Be My Neighbor, that came out last year, the documentary about Mr. Rogers. I would love to go back and watch that because I missed that. I just love the character development in this movie, and how they chose to tell the story from a reporter's perspective instead of the Mr. Rogers. Because Mr. Rogers is almost as his side character. He's not the main character. He's just on the side, coming in, coming out, and how he impacts our main character and helps the main character's development. It's super touching. How can a man be this inspiring? Right? There's no reason to not watch this movie. Do I have to say anything else? I guess there's no reason to not watch it. So go watch it. That's a must watch. That's everything that I watched in November. It's quite a lot. I really love this month. It's a lot of good shit in there. Even in the ones that I put under the streamer list, like Queen and Slim and Dolemite Is My Name, they're still a good film. They're just one step away from maybe go to theater or must watch. Or even the stalker list, I put the Souvenir is a super interesting film. It's not a bad movie. I just didn't like it, but I respect the hell out of it. Right, this month there's not a single film in this month that I would give an F if I were to grade them. So I really love November. 2019 is looking up. December coming up. I gotta catch up a lot of things. I always catch as many things as possible before February of 2020. So before I made that best of 2019 list, so I'll catch as many as possible. So don't worry about that. In December, I think there's a break during Christmas, so I guess I'll pump some videos out. The personal films is still coming, okay? I just did my research a little bit, okay? Sorry for that delay. And yeah, thank you so much for watching. Tell me in the comments what you think of the video, and that's it. Thank you so much, and I'll see you next time.